this.
Now, you got frustrated, Winter, because you couldn't do your prediction before the draft. But now the draft is about to coming through, and
nice.
I'll be asking you.
Oh, yeah, it's information. He knows an August Iron ban.
Damn it! I wanted to know if you still thought you were going to see
I just want to see the Darks here for MVP.
He wants to see the Darks, yeah. Okay. And you have explained before, you felt like it was integral to the success we saw from the boys from OG.
Yeah, not only that, I think that's a hero that would put everything MVP were lacking in the last game in shape. Like if they could have a hero that actually constantly pushes out the lane, and everything would fall into the piece. You can actually easily fight the enemy. You want to make smoke plays. Like a lot of their smoke plays were very difficult because the lanes were always pushed out. They couldn't find a gank. So I'm kind of hoping like MVP goes back to that Darkseer route.
Well, Shadow Demon got removed, so OG's got to look to or it's a different defensive support, as they do love their Shadow Demon. That's their most picked hero from the group stages. Other defensive supports were Warlock and Dazzle that they went for. So
the thing is about the Shadow Demon Luna is just it's a relatively easy strategy to execute, and it's also like very reliable. It's low risk in many ways. Just because the illusion spam, the way you push out waves, it's just like it feels very comfortable. So in a high pressure scenario like on stage here, I think teams like to be able to run back to those strategies, especially if they're the team expected to win.
It's a comfort pick.
That is a very good point. Like single elim, you don't really want to try something unreliable. You want to make sure it works and it's easy to execute. Like ease of execution is something very important in Dota. High pressure situation, you want something that's very reliable. But for MVP, sometimes they don't really care. MVP is one of the few teams that we'll just do our thing.
Warlock Axe. That gets an applause right there.
They're happy to see the red duo. I mean, Warlock. We've been waiting so long for a Warlock, haven't we? I mean, this was a group stage commonplace, and now he's finally appearing in our playoffs.
MVP might be happy that OG chooses to go for the Warlock though, because it's a very long cooldown hero. It means that you are going to be very careful with picking your fights. That's what OG are very good at anyways. But MVP wants to constantly run at you, so if you have a long cooldown ultimate, it might play to MVP's favor.
Yeah, I think many teams are, even though the mindset is trying to change, I think teams still suffer from losing a team fight against a big ability, and you have this cooldown, you have this opening to be able to keep up pressure, but I think some teams are a little bit hard to be able to recover from a loss like that, a lost team fight, and still go in with confidence. I think MVP is one of those teams who will absolutely be like, all right, whatever, we lost that last fight, but now they don't have golems, let's go again, and they'll go with full confidence.
They have to be very careful though. The thing with Warlock is it's a long cooldown, but every time they use the Warlock ultimate, it's very likely that it gains you not only the fight, but it gains you an objective. It takes a tower because it allows you to push.
If used properly.
Yeah, if used properly. That's the thing with the ultimate. But
and it's also an ability you don't want to use defensively,
you don't want
right?
But then at the same time, even though MVP wants to constantly fight, you don't want to take too much loss against a big cooldown ultimate, even though you want to keep fighting. Because if you lose too much out of one long big cooldown, then it might cripple you too much for the later fight. So you want to bait out the fight, bait out the Warlock ultimate,
back out,
and then lose maybe a support. That would be most ideal, and then fight again after.
And that's in some ways, I think, why Warlock also comes back, because he's still, it's not just the golems, he has also Fatal Bonds, which ensures a lot of extra damage that goes down that can perhaps get you those extra kills, and then even the Catch of Upheaval has been buffed up multiple times, so now you actually are both able to force the fights and be able to make sure that they're not able to just immediately back out. So you can get those extra catches sometimes.
So something I'm interested to know is that we were talking and singing the praises of what synergizes well with Fatal Bonds. I mean, we saw the Venomancer Warlock work so well. I'd like to know what you guys would suggest could be synergizing well with it in this draft.
Earth Spirit.
Axe in a way does as well.
Axe, yeah.
If he gets a good call and there's Fatal Bonds around there, he groups up people. It's great if you have it's a little bit of one more combo combination there if executed properly.
We love our
Well, I'll tell you, probably the best combination is already taken away by MVP. Phoenix in their first pick. Mirana is very popular with Warlock. And they followed up with another Vengeful Spirit, which could again be a potential saving hero, right? You use a core to be able to try and bait out the golem, and maybe you can swap back, save that core, leave your Venge to die instead. But it also could still be a very aggressive core Vengeful Spirit, in which case, no cooldown, very in your face.
It's like very obvious here MVP has this Venge plan against OG. They picked it twice in this series, and I guess like the point that I like to bring up when you open a draft, you want to have a hero that's very flexible in a few positions, because they play him in a core role and in a support role. It allows the captain to have an easier time drafting around.
And is that what you consider both Mirana and Vengeful Spirit to be flexible? Yeah.
Another good example of that is Juggernaut, just because he's definitely in core, but he is his playstyle is versatile enough, and also his laning configuration is open.
So we're still fishing for the OG to show their. Can they show their hand with this next pick, or can they still keep something relatively?
They could potentially go for a support. I don't think OG is flexible in their supports, but mostly it's how they use it, and you don't really know how aggressive they're going to be with it until you know what their cores they're going to be matched with. I would imagine that Jerix's hero is the last one open there, so we'll see what they go for that. They've played a lot of Rubik, they've played a lot of Earth Spirit.
I think Earth Spirit, that Winter suggested the combos well with the Warlock, and it also works as a nice initiator against Mirana. You have both a stun and a silence to be able to work around. And I think it sets the tempo. I think you want to be able to do that when you have an Axe. Axe is very much a momentum-based offlaner. He can make rotations before his Blink Dagger thanks to Tranquil Boots and the extra movement speed you have there, and also smokes. But oftentimes you want to be able to have a 4 position that helps set those ganks in motion as well.
Just a quick discussion then while we are waiting for the draft. N0tail has been described as someone who creates the most space as a carry. He's one of the most space-creating carries out there. Do you agree with that statement?
It depends on his hero.
I think he's not so flashy. He makes space, but he's at times takes space when he needs to.
Boston likes Pudge.
Yes, they do. I think every country, every city,
Pudge Mirana.
They always like to see a Pudge. I think something really important, I don't think we've hit on this enough, is that N0tail is a very hardworking and versatile player, and on the previous OG he played more of a space creator, and on this OG he, I think, has more opportunities to shine, because sometimes Ana will play the space creator for you. And N0tail, I think, he's not the flashiest of players, right, but I think he would be, I think a word to look for is like reliable. Right, I think he is a very reliable player, and that's why like sometimes he's like heroes like Dragonite or Razor, like he could do exceptionally well on, and you think of that hero, it's just kind of like he's always going to do his job, right?
Sure.
So
he is the reason Naga Siren gets banned almost every time against OG, because he just plays that hero perfectly, which means it's very annoying to deal with. Not a lot of mistakes coming out from him, as we will see Ana Invoker, which was actually, they played it once before, and it was one of the games that they lost.
Yep, very, very just solid and straightforward stuff from OG. Good team fight, good setup for the Sunstrike. Pretty good lanes as well. Warlock does not only have good team fight, but he provides you with very, very good lanes. It's very good to zone the offlaners, and MVP's Pudge pick is kind of.
I feel like you're not happy. I don't think you're a fan of it.
I mean, it's good against. I mean, it's good against the Axe, because Axe blinks in. He wants to call and kill your teammate. You act as a save, but they already have the Venge for that, so they have the Pudge on top of.
Yeah, there's a Weaver still again. They do like.
He's like a hero that heavily relies. It's an unreliable hero. It heavily relies on the player itself. Like the player has to be one with the hero, and you understand the hero very well and you need to take a lot of risk with Pudge. It's a very risky hero to pick.
Risk and reward, but I mean, you
high
heard
risk, high reward.
Yeah, you heard it from the casters just before, after the first series did conclude. They were saying, if ever you had done something special, if ever you had a curveball, if you had I'm tired of these horrible cliches, ace up your sleeve, blah, 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 but you know what I'm saying, is if you lose this game of Dota, you are out of the major.
Yeah.
If you lose this next game, you are out. And so
lose in style.
And on the other
they
side,
want to lose in style.
If you win this game, you double your prize pool. So, there's some incentive there.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget, OG are looking at a bit of revenge here.
Yeah.
I mean, this MVP squad is the team that knocked them down from the upper bracket at TI6. So there is, I think, in some small ways, something to prove here for OG, just because they did not get their obviously desired result.
I mean, think about the Pudge here. He only has like one setup. The Venge stun is not that easy to hit in a lot of cases. So the Pudge has to land his own hooks,
Yeah, they're either gonna go off real hard with arrows and hooks, or they're gonna fail miserably.
There's gonna be lots of tumbleweeds.
Yeah. But at the same time, because Mirana is very likely their mid hero, so she's gonna provide the team with a lot of deep push, wave clear. They're gonna be able to push the lanes and find the fights that they want to.
And there's a couple of defensive spots that OG could hide in that you could very easily try and get an arrow or a hook on and see if someone's hiding out. As Void is their last bet, I'm wondering if they're going to go for a hero that could have some sort of setup for an arrow or a hook, because...
There's not many heroes though.
Yeah.
Assuming the Venge and Pudge are the supports they would need. And Offlane Weaver, I'm not sure about Offlane Weaver or Safe Lane Weaver right now. If you want setup, it's more likely an offlane hero. But I'm not like a big fan of a safe lane Weaver. I think if you pick Weaver, you do it like on a support or offlane, or you do a tri-lane on the enemy. You try to make the most of the hero in the early stage.
I think that hero has, I think he has very specific peaks, right? And the rest are all valleys.
Very timing orientated.
So it's hard to run him as a reliable safe lane carry, because it's like, okay, you have like this window to operate.
Do something now.
You know, you gotta win the game in that that play, and I think that's really hard to do. So. Especially in this patch, I think people like to be able to see a little bit more longevity to their strategies. They want to be able to see that if it goes 45 minutes, 55 minutes, we can still play.
And it looks like you're going to get that Ursa after all.
Off lane Weaver, yep, and safe lane Ursa. Pretty good lane to deal with the Axe early. You might have to Iron Talon jungle and just not go to the lane.
But that's not a problem, right? Axe is one of the faster Iron Talon junglers out there.
Him and Dux are both the fastest Iron Talon junglers.
Oh, does mean that you give a free lane to the Ursa?
And Venom.
Yeah.
And I would say they don't have the most disruptive supports to...
Push strat incoming.
And that is a no-till hero to its core.
Well, if
Terrorblade
gets away with the laning phase, he's going to be very, very good here.
Okay, Terrorblade, the final. Was that just a little bit of that curve we were looking for? That little bit of something special?
Terrorblade is also a risky pick though, because if the laning phase fails for that hero, the hero is like badly crippled if he doesn't have a good laning phase.
Fortunately, there is unlikely to be a very strong aggro presence from MVP because they have a Warlock. So I think their lane should go pretty well. And then if Terrorblade gets rolling right, he's just going to stomp all over these team fights. Ursa's going to have a hard time connecting.
Well, the scene and the stage is set. Could this be the final game of Dota played today here in the Wang Theatre? We'll find out with your casters. It's David and David. David, it's the double Ds. Enjoy this one.
Is he hitting on me, or is that just me?
He's hitting on me, LD. Don't flatter yourself. Come on.
All right. Well, hey, I'm the voluptuous one, but we've got a game on our hands. MVP taking OG. Elimination potentially for MVP. If they can win this game, they go to a deciding game 3. Gods ran into Fly and Mad walking backstage, and didn't overhear the whole conversation. But basically, the gist of it was, what are they going to do now? Because clearly, what they've been doing isn't working. We have that figured out. They've got to throw us a curveball. We've talked about it. The analysts have talked about it. And do you think this is the curveball, and how do you feel it's going to work?
Yeah, it's not like a crazy strategy. Obviously, you can change your picks, but you can't change your players, your play style as well. That goes with those players. A player like Kyo is going to want to play some of those more flashy heroes. It is going to be something a bit different because Kyo's handling the Weaver, so it's going to be a Weaver mid with Mirana offlane. And I was thinking, when the Mirana got picked, it's like a mid, but it's a mid that doesn't suit Kyo, whereas a Weaver is a hero that can run in, get onto key targets like an Invoker or support Warlock and just find those kills. So it's a more Kyo-esque hero, similar to like how a PA functions. And I think that definitely suits him a bit better. But as far as the overall draft goes, I think MVP are going to have to land those hooks, land those arrows if they are to come on top of this game.
And it is the nature of MVP in the way they draft. They tend to pick lineups that have a much higher threshold for execution required to be able to take the game. Whereas OG, solid team fight once they get, you imagine, the Warlock ultimate, some points in Fatal Bonds, Invoker gets his items, the Axe has a blink. It's very easy for them to pull off team fights in comparison. So, well, as often is the case, MVP going to have to go for an outskill, and this could be how they get the ball rolling.
This will be a good game because they have the better block as well, so that means Invoker will be pushed further forward. He either has to not go for last hits or he's going to die.
They're going top, though. They're going to mix it up here, going for the very squishy Terrorblade.
Onan's expecting it mid because he's positioned so far back right now.
And OG going for that offensive tri-lane start again. I think some of these heroes may have been scouted by MVP, or perhaps just anticipating the same setup. It'll be Febby in the trees, no-tell. A bit closer to the wave. Definitely doesn't seem like he knows this is coming. It's not the easiest initiation, though. The magic missile range, not the best, but he's getting dangerously close. They can sweep out from the trees. They should have the angle. He gets body blocked just for a moment by his own creep. Betrayed! The traitor creeps, but is it going to be enough? Just the rot chase to try and get the kill. It will barely be so, but Jerax TPing in will find the trade. So first blood for MVP. They get on the board. It does cost them a smoke, but they force a TP, and that's going to relieve some pressure here on Velo bottom.
It's totally worth it too, because you take a look at mid lane, and Honor hadn't got a point of experience until those heroes finally showed on the map, and QO...
Speaking of which...
Yeah, going aggressive.
Bully tactics here.
Not quite level 3. If he had the Swarm there, maybe he'd be able to go for a kill, but... Yeah, Honor was just hugging his tower, missing a lot of the first creep wave of experience and farm just because those two heroes are missing on the map, and it's such a common play to go for that level 1 smoke mid. They were going for top lane, which completely caught OG off guard. I like the decision from N0tail to go for the illusion level 1, trying to use that to block those arrows coming in, but they didn't need the arrows, just the magic missile plus rot to get the kill.
Yeah, Dubu waiting for a potential flank, but you can see Ana playing this very defensively, just hugging the high ground. Very unlikely to be killed off unless the Pudge can find a hook. Now, I believe he was scouted going towards the bottom rune earlier. Febby. Not sure he has been seen specifically in this location, but they know he's somewhere towards that bottom side of the map, barring a smoke. And as a result, Ana playing extremely defensively. So far, though, the lane's looking decent here. There will be some pressure onto Ana. Going to charge him with the Sakuchi. Doesn't have a point in Wex yet, and QO's just going to go for it. JerAx joining the fray, though, looking for the turnaround. Sunstrike coming in hot, and it won't be enough. The Fairy Fire there. QO's able to live the rolling boulder to the right. JerAx whiffing a bit. MVP, they'll find a second.
Well, that's a nice kill to get for MVP. Does mean QO's a bit low on HP here, but he's got Tengos that he can get pulled from the Venge as well. And the roll-in's going to miss, and QO not going to go for the punish. He does have to worry about the boulder smash with that Arcane Rune. The Earth Spirit of JerAx has very high uptime.
And no stun on Dubu was just a wee bit short as far as mana goes, but he will have it now if he chooses to stick around. And in fact, another smoke, so you can clearly see the game plan for MVP, as you would expect with this draft. They are going to be constantly shifting positions on their supports, looking for pickoffs. Ana, again, starting to take some heavy pressure in the mid lane. It's going to require JerAx as well as Fly to come in and try to assist them. This is the kind of start you want to slow an Invoker down, but there's the Boulder Smash, follow-up Sunstrike, not enough damage. In fact, Dubu there with the turnaround, the Cold Snap. Oh, he's able to fade just in time. Sakuchi to the rescue, and Ana will be thwarted once again.
That was very, very close.
Fly going to take some punishing here, but there is a Berserker's Call, so Velo doesn't want to push it.
6 stacks of Fury Swipes on him, so Espo has to be very careful here. Any kind of hook or Earthshock could be the death of him. He really wants to reset that, and it looks like he'll get the ability. He'll get to.
JerAx going for the suicide now, but already MVP off to a decent start. That said, though, the side lanes are farming well for OG Gods. S4 basically free farm as there's a hook bottom. Will catch out Fly. Will they have the follow-up? He's got the Earthshock. He instead turns back onto S4. Febby trying to kill Fly up. They're going for the twofer, and they might just get it, but then JerAx arrives. Boulder Smash comes through. Will connect on Febby. Velo still giving chase. S4, 5 stacks, but he's salving up. He's juking through the trees. He winds his way around. He starts to get out, but Dubu there to cut him off at the pass. At least he hopes so. It will be enough, but Fly able to limp away. So they get the core. All the while, N0tail is just freely farming up in this top lane, and 4F starting to really struggle in what's become a 1v1.
Yeah, it's not going to be a lane that Mirana can do great in that 1v1. When Metamorph is up, you have to be pretty scared, and 4F just need to respect N0tail's pressure coming in. But the big thing is you want to try win those other 2 lanes. Pressure the Invoker at mid, find the kills at bottom. As MVP, you're okay exchanging that for the free farm of Terrorblade. And so far they've done pretty decent, only 12 CS on Honor's Invoker, and QO's looking to pose a big threat on him in this mid lane.
JerAx just camping out mid, but he was scouted for a moment there.
So I think JerAx like not really in his element as far as how he has to play the Earth Spirit. He's forced to play defensive and kind of predict where MVP are going to get aggressive. Normally he wants to be the one ganking, setting things up, but he has to kind of respond to MVP because of the nature of MVP's draft and how aggressive they want to be.
Yeah, keeping an eye on OG. They have already started stacking Ancients, and this is something that we have seen a lot from teams over the last 4 to 5 months, where when they run the Axe, it's often the early Vanguard. They will try to, whether it's a Shadow Demon disrupting the Axe or just someone to heal him in the form of the Warlock, they try to clear Ancients early and get that farm advantage. And specifically for OG, it's been a big component of their play style. Yeah. EG probably the other team that really likes to try to play the economy game.
Dubu swoops in. He did have his smoke pop, but Axe still has not seen the Venge in the river.
Creeping in. It is nighttime. 6-minute rune about to spawn. S4 unlikely to be the one that goes for it. Just not the longest range initiation unless they hit the hook. And Febby, he's going to worm his way into the trees. He does have a tango here if he wants to find a better position. Eat his way in a bit deeper. S4 is going to show himself for a moment, threatening for a call under tower. But Fly will snag the bounty.
Could have gone for Fly at the rune, but they still may. Jerax is here too.
Going to find Jerax holding onto the hook for now. They need the combo. He gets pushed onto the high ground. Febby wants to bring him up there with him, but isn't able to do so. S4 meanwhile being forced back by an Angry Bear. Dubu will have, actually won't have a stun. He's about 20 mana short. While simultaneously, N0tail in the top lane getting run down by QO. Early rotation from the Weaver. Big kill for MVP. And they're not done just yet in the bottom lane as they continue to pursue Jerax. Febby does have the hook, just barely the mana available. Going for the TP out. Come back here, says Febby. Actually hooks him past his own body. And Jerax just starts to limp the other way. There's still no vent stun. Looks like with the Wave of Terror usage, won't have the mana for some time. They continue to close in, but he's going to have a Rolling Boulder out relatively soon if he wants to go for it. Juking down to the low ground. See you later, he says. And now time for the Roche suicide. So after all that, meanwhile in mid, QO continued to duke it out with Ana. This tempo is the kind of tempo that MVP generally wants, God. It's very aggressive, constant lane shifting, and not allowing OG to play the farm game.
Yeah, this is perfect for them. Perfect for QO to be on a hero that can play as aggressive as he is. The two supports are just kind of freely moving around as a two-man unit, having some success here and there. Not quite getting as many kills as they perhaps hoped for because of how annoying Jerax is being. And really hats off to Jerax. He's kind of salvaged this early game for OG. He's basically been buying time for his carries to get all the farm they're getting because he's keeping those supports busy and not even dying. Both of his deaths, the suicide. So MVP haven't found as many kills as perhaps they were hoping for with the supports. It's been more QO rotating around, finding some action. Velo and the Ursa getting one. So we're going to see if the Pudge can truly come online and start landing some of those hooks soon. So he is going to go for another smoke gank here at top lane, it looks like. Him and Dubu. These two-man smokes have been the name of the game. This is the third two-man smoke from this support duo.
No TP on Fly. There is one on Jerax, but he's busy dealing with an Angry Bear, and the scan will be on the mark. So they know he's likely in the area, still under cover of smoke. They move in. Febby was revealed. He lobs out the hook. And with that, the jig is up. They do get the lane ward down. They might be able to intercept Jerax. Has a haste rune, though. So it will be a very tough kill as Febby, dropping his Tranquil Boots, is going to be farming up the camp. Don't want to see those getting sniped, but should be okay.
They know N0tail has no TP. It looks like they want to go for Jerax on the Earth Spirit, but that's, as we've seen already, a very tough kill to get.
Oh, even S4 rotating in for it. They know he already used his leap. They're going to try to pursue. Has the phase boots. The hook is there. Pulling Jerax away, then the stun. Securing the kill, but turnaround coming in from OG. They will get the Sunstrike kill with the help of Ana in the mid lane. And speaking of Ana, he's busy dealing with QO, who's diving him under the tower. He will barely survive as they continue to ring around the tree line, trying to bring down the cat lady. Can't HP. Quite do it. Ana so low, and here comes Dubu for the cutoff. He's going to have a wave of terror momentarily, but Ana's healing up. He probably needs an auto attack as well. Not quite enough damage. Won't be able to get the kill, but the pressure does mount a bit on the Invoker. Back to the base for him as S4, his turn to try and match the tempo of MVP. Gets up the call. Sunstrike coming in. It's a lot of damage at this point. And there's the chop up with your head, says Mr. Gustav. They will get the kill.
They even used the Moonlight Shadow here, but Pudge is trying to take that to set up on this mid lane. But again, it's the Earth Spirit Jerax, proving time and time again how difficult he can be to bring down. And
I mean, OG are just doing such a good job at farming during this time, Gods, that even though MVP, it seems like they're forcing OG to play to their tempo, rack up the kills. They're the ones pushing down a tier 1 bottom. N0tail, top of the CS charts. He will grab the tower now. They're barely trailing, in fact, about to be ahead by a significant margin when it comes to net worth, and the same for Xspirit. So I have to pose you the question, is MVP doing enough?
Currently, no, but they're going to keep playing this tempo. They're going to look for Velo perhaps to get that fast blink and keep on going. They're going to use their fourth, and what? I want to say their fourth smoke here.
Febby, he did pop down to the low ground, and in doing so, got pinged out. Yep. Jerax keeping his eyes on the minimap, and now the scan to confirm what they likely already knew.
S4 wants his blink, but he's not going to die for it. He backs off. He's not even going to farm that jungle, and N0tail perhaps a bit further forward, but
sends the illusions marching through the woods. One does get slightly blocked for a moment, and even the ping now from S4. So OG completely sniffing out MVP's movement. And with that, they start to run pretty low on smokes here. None in the restock for 10 minutes for MVP. And they're even going to end up ganking an illusion
They use 4 smokes in 10 minutes. I haven't seen that in a long time. Normally you use 1 smoke in the first 10 minutes and then 2 to 3 smokes in the mid game. They have 0 smokes for the mid game.
And in spite of that, Ana already has his Midas. He wants to use it, but they're going to look for the punish here. The double Starfall connects. Sunstrike off the mark. Jerax going away, and Febby wanted to reel him back in with the hook mid-roll, but can't quite find the range.
Yeah. The smokes haven't been super successful, but what has been successful for MVP is the game plan of just ganking and fighting. It's not been overwhelmingly successful. Like, they're not picking up a huge amount of kills. They are still like a tiny bit behind because of the Terrorblade taking towers, but they have put themselves in position to keep going for these fights and kills by having a strong enough early game.
And with that, there was also a nice pick-off on the bottom lane as Fly is so close to his ultimate. Desperately trying to secure it. Does get punished.
S4's got Blink now, so we'll see if he can set a defense up in this middle lane. Perhaps something that will catch OG by surprise, and perhaps let's say this is now time for them to smoke. They've got lots left. They've got one they're using now. They've still got another one on Fly that's waiting to be used, so
oh god,
there's
this
no shortage
combo
there.
Gods. Level 3 Fatal Bonds with the Rock and the Blink call.
Baby. He's not going to get going on.
Dubu, he's going to tank the gank. Probably the ideal target, but
yep.
It will be free gold and experience going the way of OG as they look now to transition into a tower push and maybe a QO pickoff. He's going to lay out the Swarm. Already the Glyph committed, but you're against the Terrorblade. This hero pushes extremely hard and very fast. Velo sneaking in, undercover Moonlight Shadow. They're going to drop the Rock to try and take this fight, bringing down Febby, and now looking for the follow-up Starstorm. No Tail Shatters too, and Velo still trying to lock onto a target. He will settle on S4, running him down with the clap. He does have an overpower and will be able to kill him off as well, so make it a 2 for 3. It's about to be a 2 for 4. A big fight. MVP nailing OG down. Even the tower defended, and that was with the Rock. What a great defense.
Yeah, very important. Velo's instantly into the Roshan pit. He doesn't waste time. He's got his Mask of Madness coming on the courier.
Uh-oh. Jerax, he runs in and he pushes him up and away.
Okay. Tried to probably get him on the hill, but didn't achieve that. And he may just go right back in. Mask of Madness,
like, yeah,
I said.
Come push me out again, bro.
Yeah.
There's no Rock right now. They don't have Magnetize yet. As I say that, Jerax just gets level 6.
Oh, triple TP. They also need to respect the Sunstrike.
And he's just used the Mask of Madness. Gets bashed immediately. Sunstrike. Oh, Velo. A timely enrage, recognizing his demise could be imminent. And I think God's a good thing he backed off there. As had he continued on the Roche, he probably dies and gives it away to OG.
Leaves Roche nice and healthy, so something OG can't go for. Having got Metamorph and not likely to work out for them.
So we'll take another look at this very helter-skelter fight, which really was defined by a kind of underwhelming Warlock ultimate from OG. Didn't find that big AoE combo they were looking for, and then Ursa able to just clean up afterwards.
Yeah, the Weaver got bursted. They focused too much perhaps on Kyo here because Velo just went in with the Enrage, taking no damage whatsoever, and Fly also couldn't really find the best Fatal Bonds onto multiple heroes, so worked really well for Velo. When he gets ignored in the fight, he does more damage than the Weaver there, so worked out just how MVP wanted. They want the fights to come to them. That almost played into their hands with OG going for that aggressive smoke maneuver.
And if you have that big ultimate and you don't hit the Fatal Bonds, you don't really combine the Warlock Rock with the call, then all of a sudden MVP's draft is perfect for those kinds of chaotic fights. Very low cooldowns, lots of single target, good individual burst, and for OG, they're going to scout out Dubu here on a little journey uphill. The hook does come in for the turnaround. Febby getting the dismember with the rod. Don't think he has quite enough damage yet as Jerax rolls, but it's a very short range roll. Velo coming in for the cleanup, and now Forever on the chase as well. Brings Fly low, forcing him back and away, and they may contest these Ancients under cover of Moonlight Shadow. Continue pursuit. The Aghs is coming soon for Forever Gods. This could be huge for MVP.
Yeah, he's got most of the pieces now. I saw him pick up the Blade of Lacrimosa first, like, is he still going for the Aghs? But yeah, now he's got the point booster.
Surely you have to get the Aghs.
That's what I was thinking, but just very rare to see the Blade first, but of course the damage not too bad. MVP's Velo into the Roche Pit. The Act pull will not land, and now S4's in trouble.
S4 known for his big plays around the Roche Pit, not able to find one here. Febby, though, will be burst. Good Sunstrike from Ana, but now on the run, he's going to be controlled for the time being. Arrow comes through. Velo, though, they'd love to pop this Aegis. Can they do it? Chases in from No Tail, can't quite finish him off. Still, they have the Fatal Bonds on him. Ana sticking around. Aegis going to be popped in now. Ana almost dead into the pit. One more auto attack will bring him down, but he's not going to drop. OG will now scatter, look for the retreat. Jerax rolling up and away over the hill, and will live to fight another day. So MVP, in the end, Sunstrike. Connect on Velo, not enough for kill, but they do lose their Aegis as quick as they grabbed it, but they get some extra gold to go along with it.
They are doing all of this before the Ursa even completes his Blink Dagger. And he's going to have that with the Phase and Mask of Madness soon, and that's where MVP get even scarier in these constant fights and engagements that we're seeing. So MVP will hit this peak where they get the Ags on the Mirana, the Blink on Ursa. Weaver's just looking to get as much stats and to tank up as much as possible. Wouldn't be surprised to see Cure go into some kind of like Diffusal or Manta just so we can purge off the Earth Spirit Silence, but they'll want to keep on fighting even with the Aegis getting immediately taken away.
And I want you to expand on that a bit, God. So you look at OG, they have Terrorblade, they have a Quas Exort Invoker who went for a Midas. We heard briefly from the panel they thought if the Terrorblade gets away with a decent laning stage, it's going to be very tough to deal with. So I'll ask you, how do you see these teams matching up if MVP's not able to just completely run them over at this stage? Can MVP take it late, or are they just going to be in OG's doghouse at that point?
They can do it right. Mirana's very good at dealing with those illusions. Nice hook to bail out Dubu. I say bail him out. Looks like Dubu's going to walk back. He's kind of screwed anyways.
And Chop, and now S4 getting the move speed. Still has a call available.
But, I mean, ultra late game, not going to look great. But as far as the Terrorblade having 1 or 2 big items, you're doing fine because Mirana Ags will easily deal with TB illusions. You've got good initiation coming out from the Pudge as well as potentially a Mirana Arrow. And the Ursa himself who can just go charging in. So I feel much better about MVP's position this game than last. There's no like problem here as they can't deal with. It's just going to be whether or not OG can kind of survive the onslaught and whether they can survive the downtime of their ultimates. There's 2 big ones, the Warlock Chaotic Offering and the Terrorblade with his Metamorph, I guess, if you're not really an ultimate, but effectively the hero's ultimate. If you don't have those 2 spells, you have to be very careful about fighting.
S4 setting up top, wants to turn this gank on Ana around. Unfortunately, QO's a bit too quick, and he's able to scurry away, brings the Invoker down solo, and lives to tell the tale. Space created for his teammate.
Yeah,
there was we'll see 4F grabbing the Aghanims down the Mirana.
Short cooldown on the Invoke. He was like 2 seconds short before he could get the Ghost Walk. He actually invoked it right before he died, but the attack of Cure was already midair.
And second time that Midas has been off cooldown when he's dead. Not ideal for an Invoker who wants to be pulling ahead.
Weaver, as mentioned, kind of very similar hero to the PA, and that's how Cure is playing it. Bottom lane, they've gone in with the Ursa.
Early rock drop, and now Velo just trying to TP away. That's not going to happen, though, as S4 is on the case. No more Aegis for this bear. And down he will go. A slash of the Terrorblades.
That was
to bring him down, and they're going to find Febby as well here with the roll from Jerax. He tries to turn this. Sunstrike, though, no chance of that. Again, it's the Axe finishing off a low HP hero.
Yeah, that was way too aggressive coming out from Velo's Ursa, but it's one of those things where you're kind of feeling it. You've had a really good start. He was 5-0 before that, so he was on a big kill streak, which makes the death hurt him even that much more. But as it stands, MVP just kind of need to keep their cool. They're in a position where they can go well and scale into the mid game. Cure's got 2.5k gold. 4's got the Accept that we talked about him really needing, and now they've got cooldown on the Wall of Rock, so now if they want to look to fight, it's only the Metamorphosis they have to worry about.
Oh, S4, they could go for an arrow play here. He was scouted by a freshly planted ward, but...
That was 2 towers for Cure. He just suddenly racks up a huge amount of gold off of that. So all in all, the trades we just kind of saw, say, slightly favoring MVP.
You know, guys, I hate to harp on this, but I have to bring it up again. 2 games in a row now where Dubu really struggles in the level progression. He's 5 at 19 minutes. Still no swap.
Yeah, he's having a bad game. Having a bad series. And some of his deaths have not been like a death. It's like let's walk at the enemy ancients by myself to try put down a ward or a scout. This is, I don't know, Dubu's just not feeling it in this series. He's just not really reading the game very well. And as that support role, you've kind of got to be able to read your opponent's movements. And so far, it's not really happening. Dubu, yeah, 5 of his team's 12 deaths and not finding any experience whatsoever.
There's been a bit of a struggle for him. As we'll see Jerax chilling in the bottom lane. Now going to TP back. But he TPs to the tier 2 bottom, suggesting, OG,
it's a tough
thinking
fight.
about a tower defense, but they do not have the Chaotic Offering.
Yeah, that's the big one. And they can just kind of chip at the tower with the Mirana and Weaver if they want. Ideally, you keep the Ursa kind of further back or hidden. And yeah, if you're OG, you're thinking, let's wait for the Rock to fight. Let's actually split push here. No-Tail's also got no mana on his Terrorblade, so there's absolutely no way to fight around him. He brings himself some mana, Mango in fact, so gets a bit more team fight ready, but tower's already down and MVP will back off to push out their lanes.
So going back to something you brought up, I think it's really important to note here, MVP, much better catch if OG try to play that split push game. They have Moonlight Shadowed into Shade as 4F moving on to Fly. There's a Rolling Boulder back. Still that Mirana being held in position. Sunstrike and a chop, they'll get the kill. Fly the trade so far. A 1-for-1, but losing your very farm carry Mirana. Not ideal as JerAx is pursued a bit by QO. All the while, they are split pushing though. Velo threatening to move in on Ana.
I mean, that play there sums up MVP a bit.
And they're not done just yet. Looking for S4 now. He wants the turnaround. He's going to try to isolate Dubu. Poor unfortunate soul that he is. In the trees, and another free offering of gold the way of OG. It's starting to feel like Venge is a big range creep at this point.
Yeah, it starts with Mirana leaping in. She thought she had landed the arrow, I want to say, because that was kind of what Forev was leaping in, as if he'd hit the arrow and was about to get a double Starstorm off to solo kill the Warlock, but the arrow had been sidestepped, and then suddenly he leapt into multiple heroes. That was... I mean, it's one of those things where MVP, this aggression will win them games, but sometimes it will also lose them games. Normally it's in the hands of Kyo. That was normally the more stable player for it, but he's playing that carry role in some ways with the farm he's got on Mirana. And without a Blink Dagger, he did not have a way in as well as out.
So what is the next big timing here for MVP, Gods? Is there a certain objective you'd like to see them go for, an item they're waiting on?
No real items. It's more just better initiations, perhaps using that. They've now finally got another smoke they can play around. They want to keep going for pickoffs. And I guess there is the Mirana Blink Dagger, which is going to allow Forev to farm a lot faster. He can then use Blink to initiate and still have the leap to escape. But all in all, MVP just need to find the pickoffs that don't lead into OG turning those fights around. Like bottom lane, not the kind of play you want to be making. You need to kind of read what's going on a bit differently around the map.
Well, OG going to smoke and try to cover the bait that is No-Tail's Terrorblade. QO, the first man in, is going to reveal that smoke. Does get caught by a blink. Blade Mail call. Beautiful initiation from S4. Chop number one, a success. And now looking for the second is Velo. Eats the Magnetize from JerAx. Now it's to back away. They're cold snapping him. Already committing his ultimate. And with the Mask of Madness, he drops pretty quickly. Can they finish him off? The Ursa's down. They find 3, make it 4 heroes. Biting the dust. All of it scouted by QO, but unable to get out before OG closed in. And by the way, they did that without the Chaotic Offering.
Yeah. And the timings come really for OG at this point. When they've got Rock and Metamorphosis, they are bloody strong and hard to deal with. No-Tail in the front lines with the Metamorphosis is just king of the team fight with his actual damage output. And they don't even need a Rock. When MVP's kind of committing that hard on them, if they don't get more done with the Ursa Enrage, they're going to be in trouble.
A really nice catch there by S4. You can see he actually had a slight glimpse of QO's Weaver before he tucked behind the trees. So able to isolate him, bring him down, and from there it's just kind of a route with the additional move speed that the team garners from Culling Blade, making it very easy to find those follow-up kills.
See some of the perhaps despair on QO's face there. He knows things are not going too well for him. That's a couple, both his recent deaths where he's gotten bursted down while either silenced or cold, and hasn't been able to do as much in the team fights. He's been great as far as getting pickoffs and finding kills when he's gone rotating around the map, but anytime he's tried to go with his team, take a kind of head-on fight, he's been one of the targets that OG are just locking down and preventing from having an impact on the fight. And I think MVP want to bring more numbers. They didn't have the Mirana last time. This time they're going as 5. They're smoked up. They know Roche has respawned, and they may actually use this to take an Aegis if they so choose, but ideally they want to get kills.
Dire scan though, scouts it all out. MVP not going to be getting an easy jump on OG. They're still thinking about a hook here for Febby. Creeps in, QO. Backing away, only an illusion though, and now it's OG's turn to move. They have to magnetize.
Have to move fast.
JerAx just got mana back at base. They've got the full combination available. Roche is already dead. Oh no, the bash at the worst possible time. Velo will snag that Aegis, but slows him down, and they are going to be able to force Fly back and away. Holds onto the Chaotic Offering. Arrow did connect in the meanwhile on S4 is the Axe. Thinking about a retreat, but not sure he can run away from this Mirana. Velo's there. They're going to gang up on him. He almost gets a double kill with that Blade Mail damage, but Febby combining with the team will find the kill. So they grab an Aegis, they get a kill, and they don't lose anything.
Starting to feel kind of similar to last game where MVP are going to keep looking to 5-man a bit. OG can actually go split push as Honor's now already at the top lane. This time around MVP do have catch, and this time around OG actually have a team fight to fight into the 5v5.
He's sticking around Febby, baiting nicely. Here's Honor charges in. Oh, hey buddy, how you doing? Arrow completely whiffed there by Forev. We'll be able to chase him back though. And the hunt is on. Will there be any sort of support from No-Tail? No, he's got TP away. Ana dropping that zoning ice wall, but another Blake forward, and with the double Starfall, Forev will find the kill. He had dust. So Ana knew there was no way he was getting out of there. Well, meanwhile, in the middle lane, Velo and QO have gone in deep, perhaps a bit too deep. They will find the axe kill earlier, but Velo turns it. He brings down Jerax, tries to slam down N0tail as well. N0tail currently holding the Sunder, can look to re-engage here, and he's going to commit the Metamorph as they push Velo backing away. S4 trying to move onto him, gets off the blade mail, almost killing out the Ursa. The Bears on the run. No honey for you, sir, they say, and Febby 2 will fall. OG salvaging that. And they bring down 2 of the 3 cores.
Including the breaking the Aegis too, so that really puts them up in a great position now. Have committed the Metamorphosis as well as the Chaotic Offering, so they're going to have a couple minutes of downtime, and if you're MVP, you're thinking, yeah, that fight went bad, but we've got to keep going at it. We can't just sit back and let them take it to the late game with this Terrorblade, who's going to become a bigger and bigger problem. Invoker, same thing, where it's a hero that's just going to scale better. The longer the game goes, the more items he gets. They need to go and fight and try and take the game OG as soon as possible.
The bottom lane, it's another pick for S4. He'll find it too, and it's on for Ev. This axe has been massive for OG, 10, 4, and 6. He tops the kill charts and has been creating a lot of space for the team. Is behind him, N0tail and Ana quietly accruing their farm. You can see N0tail just now completing the Eye of Skadi. Big item for him. You mentioned the Ags on Ana, and there's still plenty of room for these cores to grow.
With the Skadi, N0tail kind of is starting to reach that point where you can't burst him down in a fight. He's always going to be able to tank through any damage you throw at him, and then he can turn around, kite the Ursa pretty well with the Skadi. He's got very high armor, high HP. The damage just isn't there to kill him unless you hit like a 5-second arrow with the Ursa hitting him as well as the Axe Starstorm, and even then you're going to be fighting likely into the Chaotic Offering of the Warlock.
S4 just barely clipping him on the boundary of that Berserker's Call.
I love
AoE.
how you can see him, like he just says, like right before he's blinking, you can see him say something quickly on the mic, and I'm sure he's saying, Sunstrike, get ready. Like that's him talking to Ana there, like making sure that the Sunstrike's coming, and OG get themselves a straightforward pick off and setting themselves up to have a very good late game here, and all they need to do is get to that late game point with farm across the board on their cores, and that's exactly what they're doing. Ursa, not a hero known for his ability to scale the longer the game goes on, and we're kind of starting to reach that point where this Ursa is having greater and greater difficulties actually fighting into OG because of how he gets kited around. And
they have a lot of kiting tools. Yeah. The Invoker with Ags alone is a one-man army for that, and the Earth Spirit, we've seen Jerax consistently shoving him away. You even have to worry, no matter what, always about the call as well as the rock. It's tough, but they look for Ana bottom lane, gets off the Tornado as the Moonlight Shadow is used to try and disengage. They want to back out. The trap has been laid, and Febby, probably the first one to bite it, though. In comes Velo with a big bash. Ana, though, dropping the Ice Wall, scurrying away, healed up by Fly, saved at the last hour, and now the turn. QO, 3 down with the Yules to make it 4. They're going to find Dubu as well. Benched out for the count. OG snowballing out of control now. They get 26-19, and what do you know, gods? They could go late, but they say no, nay. We end this one now, or at least try, onto the high ground and into the breach.
Yeah, anytime they're fighting around Metamorphosis and the Chaotic Offering, there's just not much MVP can do. Best case scenario, Ursa gets off the Enrage, kills one, and then gets kited and dies, but he doesn't even get the Enrage off. He got bursted so damn fast by the Invoker and the Terrorblade there, and they're going to lose 1 Rax, possibly even multiple here if OG go for the mid one. But with Metamorphosis wearing off, this is a team who will likely back off, play it safe, look to reset.
God, they just push so fast. 1 misplay by MVP. And it was a misplay by MVP, but gods, it has to be said, OG has been setting these traps all game. They'll show like 1 core pushing a lane, 3, 4 heroes are there or ready to TP in the case of the Invoker. We're going to see it again now. Oh, hey guys, here's the Invoker. Come and get Ana. But little do you know, there's already 3, 4 heroes streaming to the bottom lane to counter-initiate.
And it's one of those scenarios where a lot of teams would just left their support Pudge die. Like, well, it's just a Pudge. Let's leave him there to die. Mirana actually leaped away, but this is MVP. They know their way back in this game, and their playstyle is to try and fight through what looks to be terrible fights. Another great stun and silence there from the stun hitting the Weaver to make sure they could kill off QO again. They're just shutting him out of these fights, and there's so little that MVP can do at this point. They're just playing into OG's hands. You kind of mentioned they're just laying these baits, and it's always Jerax as well as Fly turning these fights around, as well as S4 on this axe. 12, 4, and 7. He's really stood out as far as punishing MVP throughout this game.
Speaking of the man, he's out farming a Mirana. Now, granted, they do have a bit of a tower advantage here, but that is impressive, to put it mildly.
And now it gets harder to find these pickoffs. The item's just going to accrue as Rax money goes OG's way.
Moonlight Shadow as they try to counter initiate, but already the Sunstrike damage done. Another death for Dubu. What else is new? But can they turn this fight around? Good magnetize, and then No-Tail gets to work, slicing through the Ursa, easily bringing him down. 4 have fallen. 4F trying to get at least a solitary kill of this fight. Will taser Jerax and leaps away, but OG, they go for the real prize now. That's going to be potentially a second lane of Rax. With that, punching their ticket into the round of 8. It is absolute desperation time as MVP fight with their tournament lives on the line.
The Axe even lived his way through that one. The Terrorblade's going to have Metamorphosis back up with a Manta style. That's a second lane of Rax with no glyph available, and possibly even Mega Creeps if they want to go for top. They've even got the Warlock ultimate. If MVP respawn to fight, they're in for some hurt.
It's over, Gods. They've already lost 2 lanes. They don't have buybacks here. They're going to lose a 3rd, most likely, before they can even get back into position. Even if they get a team wipe, I'm not sure it's enough, as the rock drops. An emphatic shutdown from OG. The Green Dream lives on here in Boston today. They will move into the round of 8 in convincing fashion.
Yeah, it's a tough first round opponent for MVP, but that's where that poor group stage performance really hurts them. And versing one of the tournament favorites in the first round, OG get the job done. They 2-0 MVP, the team that first knocked them down to the lower bracket if you go back to TI. So I'm sure OG going to be feeling pretty good about getting some revenge there, and also just getting through that first round of the single elimination bracket.
Well, MVP, they did have a very last-minute roster change coming into this major, and it seemed like maybe that was a part of it. They didn't quite seem to be on the same page at times. One hero running in, another running away. Very one-dimensional playstyle, and OG were ready for it. They were not surprised, and they got punished.
Yeah, OG, one of the teams that can just prepare so well for these matches when they get the time to do so. We saw it there with 2 great drafts coming out from Flyers OG, and the play, the decision-making as a team, everyone got the job done. There was no, like, amazing flashy stand-up play, but they didn't need it. They just had the right strategies. They had the right decision-making. They didn't give MVP any way into either of these 2 games.
Well, OG, they keep the dream alive of the first team to ever win 3 Valve events. Nobody else has yet to win 2.
That's
so,
true.
Yeah.
Secret, well, Puppey won 2.
Puppey won 2, but no team has anyway. So,
right.
Pretty exciting storyline for the OG fans out there. And, you know, a lot of people have talked about that upper left quadrant of the bracket as just being super stacked, but I think OG is showing that their quadrant is pretty scary as well. Alex, what do you think?
Well, we think that OG have taken a step closer to getting that 3rd trophy lifted. Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant point and brilliant cast there from Gods and LD. What do you think, boys? What's your biggest takeaway from that one, that series as a whole?
OG is solid. Like,
OG
to me,
is solid,
I like the fact that they can mix it up. Like, sure, they have kind of a play style they like to go for. They're a little bit of a slower team, but they can mix in the Ember Spirit pick. That's a hero that no one is running right now. We've seen a pretty deep hero pool for S4 in the off lane. Everyone seems to be kind of fitting into their roles, and they just have like a clear voice, one voice in the room. If they go for that split push mid, Ana, he has backup behind him.
They're also a team that can adapt. They adapt to the draft. They've shown a few different play styles. They split push when they need to. They team fight when they can. They play as a team. They're always on the same page.
Beautiful stuff. Thank you very much. That was Gods and LD there, who did manage to get Boston on their feet towards the end of that series. And for 3 people who are on their bums, it's of course Capitalist, Winter, and Shiva. The day is done, and we do see MVP eliminated, the 4th team to be eliminated from the Boston Major. We started this day with 16, and now we cut it down. We are on the Purge. Absolutely, we'll be talking to Purge a little later on. But to recap this game, Cap, if you had to summarize it, how would you summarize this series?
I would say just domination by OG.
Domination.
I think that both games there were some highlights to point out about MVP. You could get excited about like individual fights. You could get excited about pickoffs or something like that. But overall, the game was very heavily controlled, I think, by OG. Even that first game, like, you know, there was that moment in time, but let's be honest, most of the game was being controlled by OG until they just loosened their grip very slightly.
This second series more convincing for you, Winter? Not so?
I think it's just like what Cap mentioned. Overall, they understood how they should play against MVP, despite the second game, the Pudge pick might have thrown them off a little bit in the early stages. He got a lot of kills. Otherwise, if you look at other supports, apart from Pudge, I think only Pudge could have allowed them to do that. They were able to be really aggressive with Pudge, but at the end of the day, OG split push when they had to. They team fought when they could. They just, you know, outmaneuvered them.
Yeah, it was fairly straightforward in terms of how MVP was going to play, and I feel like OG just knew exactly what to expect. Sure, it's different heroes that they do it with, as we discussed before, but they still play the same style, they play the same game, and OG was prepared for that, and it showed. Yeah. They got their hands on the Terrorblade, solid.
Well, do you know who else was solid? It was S4, and
yes.
Slax is standing by with him to ask him a few questions.
All right, everybody, I am here with S4, head of the gank squad of OG. Gotta be feeling good, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
All right, very good, very good. Now, I'm very interested in how you are gelling in this new team. You used to be one of the best mids in the world. Now you're one of the best offlaners in the world. What was the hardest thing to learn about your new position to get good?
First 10 minutes, not feeding on the offlane. That's probably the hardest part.
Okay, fantastic. How did you fix that? What'd you do?
Well, I know Bulldog watches me on Twitch, and if I die, he's going to flame me. So I keep thinking about it all the time.
That is a terrifying prospect. Good to avoid. All right, cool. So I want to know about just how OG measures up to other teams that you've been on. It seems like you guys are gelling pretty well.
Oh, yeah. I think in this team, we're very disciplined because of Tal as a captain. So I think that's one of the biggest strengths in the team.
All right, very good. All right, I got to ask you the hype question now. You just eliminated one of SEA's finest. Now you're going to go up against another one. Have you done your research on this team? Are you ready to sink your claws in?
Yeah, I'm ready for Ajit.
All right, my boy. Okay, well, this man looks ready for not only another match, but probably for a bit. So we'll throw it back to you guys there on the panel.
Thanks very much, Slax, there with his final interview of the day. He can go ahead and tuck himself into bed nice and tight. Brilliant stuff from him. And also it does seem like he's well aware of Bulldog watching him. You know, he's got a lot of extra pressure on his shoulders. You were talking about this, Sheaves. You think there's some influences there?
I think so.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
you know, giving them pointers, giving the tips. Although, as mentioned before, when Bulldog was asked for the best offlaner in the world, he said for Rev.
He did, but we're not going to start this discussion again because otherwise Winter and Cap are going to start punching each other.
True.
So let's bring up the scoreboard. That's a better way to take it. Now, before you've completely facepalm Winter, I do like to know, what is it that jumps out when this flood of numbers fills the screen?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Wow.
That's what we have you here.
All right, fantastic.
I would say
Okay.
Terrorblade having a 12-3-11 score. Normally Terrorblades are more passive than that. Your typical run-of-the-mill Terrorblade anyway. And
well,
if you like No Till,
they had a lot of setup for him to kill heroes.
Yeah, and it showed. He was there all the time, and I think that is one of the things that I really like about No Till as a carry player. He's just there when his team wants him there, and poof, he'll appear.
And how appropriate. After going ahead and taking a real awesome look at Jerax, I really love that player profile video. We do get to see him as the MVP. Yes.
I think if you look at it, right, we agreed that OG had control of both Game 1 and Game 2, and it starts from the early game. And I think that MVP Phoenix, you know, they did some surprise moves with Pudge and stuff, and they set some things up. But I think Jerax ultimately was the one who was determining the early action and is what, you know, as Winter was saying, was kind of allows people like No Tail to be able to come in and kind of clean house.
Yeah, basically if the lanes didn't go super good for MVP, they're going to struggle in the team fights when the later portion of the game comes online for the Terrorblade especially.
Well, I mean, I remember you saying you know, in our pre-match, you were like, if Terrorblade has a bad time early, it's going to go horribly wrong. Top of net worth, about 10-15 minutes in, that was a good sign of things to come, right?
He was basically left alone too, you know. He was left alone, and I mean, to be fair, Mirana can't really, it's not like the best lane winner, you know, so he was able to farm pretty decent despite like dying one time from the Pudge gang, but after that he just basically farmed so much.
It was an even game at the laning stage, and it shouldn't have been. It should have been MVP that would have stomped.
They need to win a lot there.
Exactly.
Even it's bad for them.
They should be well ahead and then hope that they have enough of a buffer to deal with the Terrorblade later on, and they just didn't have a buffer. That was an even laning stage.
Talking of buff, do you know someone's been hitting the gym? Purge has. We're going to go ahead and get one more of those delightful segments to go ahead and break down how this game went down.
No, he's not serious.
The clips that I want to focus on are mostly about Axe. I think S4 was crucial to so many of those team fights in the last game. Couple crucial ganks, Mirana snowballing out of control. She's 4-0-5 at this point. They bait Fly out, they bring Axe in, and the important thing is that Axe as a whole has been kind of bad lately just because of his inability to actually kill somebody, but when paired with an Invoker, it made things a whole lot easier just because like Sunstrikes and things like that, lowering them below the HP threshold, getting everybody on his team a movement speed buff, and then that offsets a lot of the mobility advantage that the Radiant team has for heroes like Weaver or heroes like Ursa, for example. If you become faster than them, it changes everything just because you can safely get away afterwards. So these kind of ganks were super crucial. And at some point here, he just completely counters the whole enemy lineup. I mean, this is a guy that completely survives around using either Sakuchi to go invis or time-lapse to get full HP. And every single time that he's able to initiate on him, especially with Blade Mail, and that could go for Ursa or Weaver, really, every time that he gets to go on those heroes and start the fight off with 40% movement speed advantage and 40% attack speed advantage, running away from Ursa, his slow actually looks like it does nothing. He did grab 2 more points than he did last time he played Ursa, a big improvement, but might have been a great game to actually go for the full 4 points, because really just one chop from S4 and the fight's over.
That was Purge there. I was just checking in with Cap to make sure he enjoyed that series as much as he delighted in it.
I did. I think this that clip really showcases the synergy that he had with the Invoker and how he's always setting up the Sunstrikes. I think that is something that we talked about earlier, and that S4 is a really good player that works with his team very well, and you could see the obvious synergy there. It was like very clear the communication was on point. Every single call he had, there was a Sunstrike immediately following up, and they were just able to create so many opportunities via that teamwork. So.
Yeah, and it did eventually end in another 2-0. What a day it has been. This has been, well, I mean, 4 2-0s. However, we will relentlessly remind you that it does not tell the whole story. We will bring the bracket up, though, to go ahead and refresh your memory on how this day has shaped up. 4 teams eliminated from the Boston Major. We'll start with our first game of the day. It was Virtus.pro versus IGV. And Shiva, I mean, you were reminding us earlier that that game could very well have gone to 3 at one point.
It definitely could have. IG Vitality, especially in that second game, looked very strong. And at the same time, Virtus.pro, I mean, favored going into this event, sure, but definitely show that they can bleed. They are a team that can be beaten. If IG Vitality, a couple of mistakes would have sharpened up, and they would have had a game 3, and who knows, maybe a whole series. What could happen in a full game? But definitely an even series, even though it says 2-0.
Yeah, the second game of the series actually went 56 minutes. That's testament to how IGV did frame the start of that one. Then we ventured into EG Wings. Now, Winter, this was a series where Evil Geniuses and Wings, one of them was going home. We framed it as probably being the game of the day, and that it certainly did seem to kind of provide some twists and turns. Yeah,
like I mentioned, I was always worried about Wings when we were talking about them. Like, they basically tried some stuff that didn't work out in that series. I don't want to say try, but because it feels like they're experimenting with EG, but they believe in the strat, obviously.
I'm sorry, experimenting in single elimination. Are you kidding? Is that a genuine? That's a genuine belief that they were just, hey guys, let's just try it out in this $3 million major.
Obviously, they believed that it would work,
right?
But I just didn't understand the reasons behind it. But that's just Wings, you know. Sometimes.
I mean, I don't think experimenting is necessarily the wrong word. I think Winter's kind of on point in the fact that, like, using Shadow Shaman to be able to bully down Tree and Protector defenses, right? Like, that is not something that's probably been, like, hammered out, like, 50 times by Wings. So I think they definitely had some unique ideas, and, you know, ultimately they couldn't pay out, but it was still good ideas nonetheless.
And then we got the ultimate treat, I'm sure, for everyone watching. Getting to see Warriors Gaming Unity put on a show. A complexity that have taken EG down in 2 best-of-3s, and they managed to get themselves locked into the quarterfinals. A team that, for the first time, you know, they venture over. They try and get an event outside of Asia, and now they're making bank. They have, of course, doubled their prize pool from one round to the other, and we can have a quick look at what's going to be going on tomorrow as well. This was just half of our first bracket, our first round of 16. We've got so much more to look forward to. We get to see DC on our main stream. They've been rather quiet so far, just picking up their 2-0 and then chilling out alongside Faceless. eHome NP as well. Following that, we get to see the Greeks in action versus Newbie, and then we get LGD versus LGD Forever Young. And that's, of course, where we get to say we are 100% going to get our prediction correct for that final game of the day.
For sure.
That is true.
Because LGD are going to win. You see what I did there?
Yeah.
All right, well, this has been an enjoyable day here in the Wang Theatre. The crowd has enjoyed it. We got to see a fair share of Cinderella stories, and we're going to be coming back at the same time tomorrow for all of the same. You don't want to miss it. We'll be back, same place, same time, with more fantastic Dota. You don't want to miss it here. The Boston Major continues tomorrow.
With the safety of the group stage far behind them, the realities of single elimination have dawned. 8 teams entered the arena today, but only 4 came out alive. Opportunities were missed, mistakes were made, but for the 4 winning teams, their quest for the Boston Major title continues.